We intend learning and teaching, remembering and reminding, giving and receiving benefit and gain, encouraging adherence to Allah's book and the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, inviting to guidance and leading to goodness, seeking therein Allah's countenance, pleasure, nearness and reward. Transcendent and exalted is He. We intend with the author, the pious, and our shaykhs intended what Allah knows of virtuous intentions, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept. So we are continuing this lesson in this blessed text, the Matan of Abi Shuja' by the judge Abi Shuja', discussing financial transactions, or the area of jurisprudence or sacred law known as dealings. And we are covering guaranteeing. And there are proofs of that. Among them is when the Prophet ﷺ would not pray over someone that was in debt, and someone said that he would guarantee the payment of that debt, and then the Prophet ﷺ prayed over him. And that is narrated by Bukhari. La ilaha illallah. So what is ad-daman? What is ad-daman? What is guaranteeing linguistically and in the sacred law? Hafidhtumu. Ad-damanu lughatan al-iltizam. Daman, guaranteeing linguistically in Arabic means taking on responsibility. And in the sacred law it is iltizamu haqqin thabatin fi dhimmatil ghayr. It is taking on the responsibility of a right that is established against another person. And here by this we mean monetary right typically. We're going to see though, one can also take upon the responsibility to bring a person who owes a right, or also an object. Though we'll just deal with the former of those two, insha'Allah ta'ala. As for the real guarantee and daman, they say you should be careful about guaranteeing. The middle of it seems like honor, but the after of it, the end of it is regret. أَوْلُهُ شِهَامَ وَآخِرُهُ nadama. Because you say, it's on me, and then after that the person doesn't pay back what they owe, and then it really is on you. And the person, as we'll see, who was owed, can return to either the debtor or the one who guaranteed his or her debt, the one who co-signed it, if you will. So they may regret it at that point, and then that remains an obligation over them. And in the case of guaranteeing their attendance, it is even worse. As for the guarantee that we can feel confident in, that is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the guarantee of Allah's Messenger, Abu Dawood narrates that the Prophet ﷺ said that I will guarantee a house in the midst of Jannah for someone who leaves disputation when he is in the right. And a za'im. And za'im is the guaranteer. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used this word in Surah Yusuf, وَأَنَا بِهِ za'im, that I'll bring him back. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I'll guarantee a house in Jannah, in the midst of Jannah, for the one who leaves disputation when he's in the right. So that's the guarantee that we should seek. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us to receive that and not be people of disputation. And if you guarantee payment, you might end up in disputes, because the one who's owed might come looking for you to pay him back. So this guaranteeing, La ilaha illallah, he says, 7.10, and we'll come over this with a couple of details, insha'Allah ta'ala, because we came over briefly last week. 7.10, it is permissible to guarantee payment of debts that have the potential to become irrevocably established if the amount is known. So what's a debt that has the potential to become irrevocably established? Someone purchases something and stipulates that they can return it within 3 days. So it's not yet irrevocably established, but it has the potential to become irrevocably established by itself. So then if they purchased it for, say, $10 that was owed, and they had the condition, say they purchased this book for $10 that they owed the seller, and they had the condition that if they chose, they could return the book within 3 days, then that debt isn't yet irrevocably established because they could potentially return it, and then they would get back, or they would no longer owe. However, it has the potential to become irrevocably established, and certainly we understand by that a forte, meaning it's even more the case if they're already irrevocably established. So a debt that's irrevocably established as opposed to a debt that's not yet established. What's a debt that's not yet established? If the husband owes the wife next month's support and he's getting ready to go on a journey. Well, I'll let you go if you give me a guarantor of that support. Someone can't guarantee that support yet because it hasn't become an established debt yet. As opposed to, for instance, last month's support and he didn't pay her, then she could ask him for a guarantor or ask that someone else would come in and guarantee that. But in the case of a debt that's yet to be established, or it doesn't become by itself irrevocably established, it doesn't have the potential, then one can't do guaranteeing on it because it's not yet established. If the amount is known, so the amount has to be known, the quantity of the debt, it is, for instance, $100, it is $10,000, it is 100 British pounds, it is so forth and so forth. The person owed is entitled to seek payment from the guarantor and the one for whom he guarantees if the debt is as we have clarified. Okay, so we have Muhammad and Zayd, and Muhammad owes Zainab. So Muhammad owes Zainab, and Zayd says, I'll be the guarantor of the $100 that Muhammad owes Zainab. So then now we have Zainab, she's owed, Muhammad owes her, and Zayd is the guarantor who's now taken upon the responsibility of helping him fulfill that in the case that he cannot. And he says, the person owed is entitled to seek payment from the guarantor and the one whom guarantees if the debt is as we have clarified. So Zainab can go back to Muhammad and seek repayment when it is due, or she could go back to Zayd, provided that the debt was established and known, and then Zayd expressed verbally, he expressed that he would take on that responsibility. And his expression has to give that understanding, and it's not a specific phrase. The contracts that have a specific phrase are marriage and salam that we dealt with, that type of ordering with that specific phrase. La ilaha illallah. If the debt is as we have clarified. If the guarantor pays, he seeks reimbursement from the one for whom he guaranteed if the guarantee and payment was with permission. Okay, so then we have Zainab is owed by Muhammad $100 and Zayd guarantees it. She goes back to Muhammad and he doesn't have any money and it's due, so she goes to Zayd and gets her $100. And now she's repaid. So now, does Muhammad owe Zayd $100 or not? He guaranteed that debt. If he guaranteed and he paid with Muhammad's permission, then Muhammad owes him. If he guaranteed, he said, okay, I'll be your guarantor. Is that all right with you? Yes, it's all right. And then he said, okay, now I'm going to pay it off. What do you say about that? And he said, go ahead and pay it. Then he pays it, and then now Zayd can go back and say, Muhammad, I paid it off for you, and I guaranteed you with your permission. So now you have to pay me back. So that's the first scenario, when he guarantees and pays with permission. Okay, what if he neither guarantees nor pays with permission? He just says, I'll be his guarantee, or it's on me, and he didn't ask him. He just said, it's on me. And then he paid it off. Jazakallahu khair. He just, he was being charitable and honorable, but the person didn't authorize him to take upon himself that financial right, so it's just like he did something charitable. Now, what if he allowed him to guarantee, and he didn't give him permission to pay him back, to pay it back for him, then in that case, the relied upon position is he can still go back, because the guaranteeing, it's understood that in the case that the first person can't pay, that he'll pay him back. So basically those are a few scenarios. There's some other scenarios that we're not going to go into for brevity, but basically if you do that, you have to understand that if you just if you take upon that responsibility, or if you pay back without their permission, then technically they can't come back to you and ask you to pay them what you paid. So let's say there wasn't any guaranteeing, which is more likely to occur in our context. People don't, unless someone's co-signing a loan, and then honestly, even if the Sharia didn't make them pay it back, Uncle Sam is going to make them pay it back. La ilaha illallah. But let's say that Zainab loaned Muhammad and Zayd paid it back. Now, can Zayd go back to Muhammad or not? They were arguing. He said, look, I'll just pay